Good evening. Tonight we're starting out at the top of the garden. We have a lot of deer damage. This is a serviceberry. You can see that the sticks have all been defoliated. The deer ate every last leaf, and soil's pretty churned up too. And I'm not sure if that's from drought followed by rain or if that's actually something digging back here. We certainly do have squirrels bearing all kinds of nuts. There's a walnut tree nearby. So we're at the top of the garden. The gooseberry's doing well. We have black raspberry canes, but I broke my pole saw in a spectacular fashion, so the mulberry tree never got cut back. This area has been shade all summer long, so it didn't fare very well. There's been not enough sun up here. And you can see exactly where the leaves start on the Asian pear. All of the lower leaves have been eaten by the deer. You can also see dirt, or the turf here is pretty tore up from hooves. This is a hill, so they kind of slide down it just like you or I would. This was my tomato cage, and I had to hang these to hopefully deter the deer. That didn't happen. So they ate the tops all the way down the line. There are no tomatoes whatsoever up here at all. There's just one bush down on the end that's still growing. I haven't bothered to keep up trimming off the suckers. I just let it go once I knew the deer were in here. The other thing that happened this summer, you can see I've got strings everywhere to prevent the deer coming through. There were 3 holes in here that a groundhog had moved in, and I've tried to get the dirt back down into the underneath the garage. Don't know how well I did, but we'll see. I may come back next year and poke some more at this and see if I can't poke some more dirt down and get it underneath the garage. This is the rest of the tomatoes. We've been having a spectacular drought. It rained once in July. Normally we get about 3.5 to 4 inches of rain a month. That didn't happen. Let's see. Looks like we just might, get one Roma tomato without blossom end rot. All of these have blossom end rot. I have a huge pile of tomatoes that are just not gonna go anywhere. They're just dead. They're just dead. And then the shade over here from the mulberry tree didn't help. Okay, gotten back over through the mint patch. This section needs to be terraced because this hill is precarious at best and the erosion is not good. So you can see the deer ate 2 tomato plants here, totally level at about 3 feet up. And then I started stringing guy wires across, and then I have a gate here that I can lift, but they can't go through. And before I did that, this is a turnip patch. There are 2 turnips. There were over 50 planted in here. The deer decided to walk through this, and then the squirrel decided to start bearing nuts in here. So it's sad. We did get some more growth further down, but again, the blossom end rot These are Roma tomatoes, and they're really succumbed to the blossom end rot. The deer totally devastated the Swiss chard. They left the kale alone. And finally, now that the groundhog is gone, we had the groundhog trapped and removed. The honey nut squash is coming back. I didn't bother to put it back on a trellis. I just let it climb. I don't know that it's going to actually get fruit at this point. We're less than 6 weeks away from first frost. All right, so because of the ravenous deer that come through here on a regular basis, let's see if I can get back far enough. All right, this is my terrace system, and I took a sheet of burlap and clipped it all the way around to prevent these buggers from eating everything. I do have some more squash that came back on the vine after the groundhog was removed, so we might get 4 squash, but they'll be small because of the drought. Nothing grew in the cinder block holes that I planted. There are supposed to be radishes all the way down the line. The deer ate those too. This is butternut squash here. And like I said, I quit trying to hang it. We'll get a few. There's another one. We have some scallions in here. Nothing seems to have bothered the scallions. I have a volunteer tomato. I'm not sure with the burlap up if the eggplant are getting enough sunlight. I do have a couple of really tiny fruit on the vine or on the stems. They may get bigger, hopefully before frost. We had horrible damage due to flea beetles, and that's what you see, all the pock marks on the leaves. And then this is my overflow tomatoes. I planted these in here. This used to be a lettuce patch. I tried to put in some beets too, with limited success. I'm not quite sure if the soil just isn't right or what's going on here. So these are my tomatoes. We'll get some on that vine. Those vines, because they were on the end, the deer chewed them way back, so I'm not sure how much we're going to actually see from them. This is my attempt at foiling the deer. They ate all the blooms off of the early girl tomato. I only got 1 tomato off of this, and it's probably all I'm going to get. I replanted daikon radishes and carrots in here. I tried for a crop of fall peas, and I might get a couple, I might not. If nothing else, maybe I'll have seed. This is the lone zucchini that it's a yellow crookneck squash that survived the onslaught of squash beetles. I started harvesting some of the cabbages. There's still plenty left to harvest. Lettuce has gone to seed. The deer won't come past this point because of the dill. They don't like the dill. This is a volunteer out of the compost pile. The strawberries, which are gonna get removed and retamed. And then I planted spinach on the far end. Oh, while I'm here, out of the compost pile, or possibly a squirrel planted, we're gonna get a pumpkin. This is horseradish. More horseradish. The tomatoes in this section really suffered from the drought. And that's the spinach. Like I said, the deer don't seem to want to come in this far. I did plant some more lettuce up here. It tends to dry out too fast in the cinder block. And then we ended up with a really nice bunch of mushrooms growing in the cabbage patch, decomposing a lot of wood chips that were there. They're not edible, they're just a little brown mushroom. And then lastly, the potatoes came back. These are leeks, but the potatoes came back. I'm gonna let those go until actual first frost. And see how this one came back. That one looks done. That probably will get harvested soon. So all of these are looking much better now that we've had some rain. These are blue potatoes. I think the variety is Purple Viking. And then I stuck some of the grow bags in here to keep them cooler so that they're not in direct sun, because that black bag soaks up too much heat and they just cook in the bag. So we'll get a few tomatoes off of the overflow that ended up in the grow bags. And that's about gonna do it for this evening. The herb spiral's looking pretty good. It needs to be topped off. I've got hyssop in the top. Basil needs to be harvested. The yarrow never bloomed. It's looked like this all year. It never bloomed. I really think it needs to be moved into a better location. I don't think this gets enough sun. The St. John's wort likes it here. And we just harvested, you'd never know, but we just harvested a huge cutting of horehound, and it loves it here. It really does. See, I got some parsley hiding up here too, it looks like. And I need to harvest some rosemary before winter as well. So that's what's going on in the upper garden. Y'all have a good evening.